Breakfast is your most important meal of the day because many of us have been told that baloney all of our childhood life. Yvette, how about you?
Totally true. We've all heard that. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And only when we find out what it is, it was an ad slogan that the Kellogg's company started in the 1900s, the previous century, the year the century we were born in.
Yeah, so they can sell more cornflakes.
Exactly. So John Harvey Kellogg and James Caleb Jackson were the ones behind this. And I'm sure the name Kellogg is very well familiar with a lot of us because most of the breakfast cereals is part of the Kellogg's company.
That's true.
And it shows you the power of marketing, Johann.
And is it really that important to eat a breakfast? I know many people, if you're anything like me, I get up in the morning at 2:30, but I go to the gym, I come back, I make coffee for my wife in bed, get into the shower, and I go to work. There's no time for breakfast. And probably not right that we are living in such a rushed environment, but I don't ever even get hungry until it's about lunchtime. So how important is that early morning breakfast anyway?
Well, when we look at the word breakfast, you break it up. You're going to break your fast. And I think the same as what we've been indoctrinated with, being told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We've also eaten according to a clock. You have to eat at 7 or 8, and then you have to have your meal at 1. And I think that is an absolute fallacy. And the thing that you said there that is so true, you're not really hungry.
That's right. And talking about eating around the clock, we've all gotten so accustomed to time because it's lunchtime. When do I see her? Around dinner time. So, but if it's really, do we eat around the clock, or because it's so ingrained in us that there's a certain time to eat?
Well, you made a very good point there because our lives have actually then become around eating and food because that's where the focus is.
Yes,
And
and
heaven forbid you skip a meal. So when we break our fast, it is important. You and I, we do not deny that. Breaking your fast is very important, but we want you, again, as we always say, you got to listen to your body. If you're not hungry, don't eat. It's the same as the story with the water. If you're not thirsty, don't force yourself to drink water. So if you're not hungry, don't eat. But breaking your fast with a breakfast cereal, that was the main objective of this ad slogan. And we have all fallen for that hook, line, and sinker. Even in this day, 2026, people still say that same mythology. They have the same way of thinking. So, Johann, when we break our fast, what are we supposed to be doing?
well, I first think what people are doing wrong is because of our rushed life. It's so much easier to throw some cereal in a bowl, add milk and sugar to it, and off you go. And like we've said many times in the past, 2 hours later you're hungry as a wolf again, because all those carbohydrates, they stimulate hunger. They do not stimulate satiety. And we've talked about this many times, and I've heard the slogan in an interview that I listened, is that whenever you eat, you're doing one of two things. You either fuel your body or you feed disease. And we've gotten so accustomed to eat for the wrong reason. We've been brainwashed to eat because the food is delicious, because it's social, for all these other reasons other than actually fueling your body. And for that reason, we start eating the wrong stuff. We don't eat when we break our fast. We don't eat the things that is actually going to fuel our body that we need, especially after you just came off of a period of fasting. You have to get the fuel to get you going again. But now we rather eat something that I am going to enjoy. We eat it out of enjoyment.
And to latch onto your example there of if you've eaten this in the morning at 7 o'clock or early in the morning, and by 10 o'clock you're ravenous, Then we create the situation where we are in now, where people eat breakfast and then they have a snack. Then they have a lunch and they have a snack. Then they have dinner and they have a snack. And you and I both, we have fallen for that fallacy where we were taught that you've got to keep the metabolism stimulated by eating 6 meals a day. And if you think about it clearly, it makes no sense because you are not actually fueling your body. You are not giving yourself nutrients, because if you were getting nutrition, you wouldn't be hungry like that every couple of hours. So we are sitting with a health and a weight epidemic because of the way we view food and the way we've been taught to wake up and eat.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost as if the only reason that we're awake is to eat. If you see how many times people eat per day, and then you get these people, and I know some of them, they would eat all day long because now they've had their breakfast. Now they go out for the day, they have to pack their snack, and that snack is being eaten all day long. And discussed this so many times in the past in some of our programs, that everything in our body acts in a pulse-like manner, especially hormones. They get switched on for a period and then they have to get switched off. The same with eating. You have to eat for a period and then you have to switch it off because your body needs to do what it needs to do with that food that you ate.
Correct.
But if you now eat cereal, you can't do anything other than eat again 2 hours later, because apart from burning through whatever fuel it has, it stimulates your hunger so that you have to eat more.
It's a very well designed food. And I can say designed food because it's not a human appropriate food. It's not something you're going to pick up outside and eat. There's a specific way in which they make these cereals, and you can explain a little bit more to us, especially with regards to the denatured proteins. Tell some of us, because I'm sure a lot of people, they walk down the cereal aisle, which fascinated me when I moved to America, that there's a whole aisle dedicated to cereal. But how are they made?
Yes. And the thing is, if you think about it, of all breakfast cereal that people eat, oatmeal is probably the least processed, although it's still not a good thing to eat. But if you think about these puffed rice, it is put under so much heat and pressure in order to get that snap, crackle, and pop the way it is. And even cornflakes. They don't take a corn and just smash it and there you have a cornflake. That's not how it is. There's extensive processes with, again, heat and pressure going on in order to get it to the way it is. And they also remove probably all the good, what we would have considered as nutrients from it. Otherwise, it'll go rancid and go rotten in the box before you eat it. Now, because of the heat and the pressure that they put that poor kernels under, there's something that happens with protein. That is why they also claim that a really high fever for anybody can be really dangerous, because at high temperatures, protein denatures. What happens is there's those bonds in that protein, the amino acid chain, that breaks. And now that protein is not the way it was originally designed. It's something different. And because we eat it now, our bodies don't know what to do with it.
Because
And
the important word there was the denature.
yes, it's not nature anymore. It's now something else.
And our
And
bodies go, what's this?
yeah, this is something else. I don't know what to do with it. And you don't have the enzyme to break it down. And now all of a sudden you have a skin rash. Oh no, you've got eczema. Let's slap a cream on it. It's not going to do anything.
So when we have a talk about the human appropriate foods, and so often, as much as what Kellogg's with their breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and oatmeal has fallen into that same category where advertising slogans telling people it's the greatest breakfast, it's fallen in the same group. And people are hell-bent on the fact that that's a good way to start breakfast. With the oatmeal, first of all, when people talk to me about oatmeal, my standard answer is, It's food for horses. It's not for people.
Yes.
And when you look at the nutrient value in it. But the one thing that was very important to me with a correlation with the oatmeal, Johann, too, was when you mentioned about the protein in oatmeal that gets denatured. So give us a little bit of a concept of that, because there's so many health advantages given for the oatmeal, but it's very contradictory.
Yes, and if you think about it, because I did some reading, and they have all these benefits for oatmeal. They say, oh man, it is one of the most healthiest foods you can eat. And the reasons they give is heart health, because the soluble fiber in there can lower your LDL cholesterol. And if you've listened to our previous podcast, why do you want to do that anyway? They will say it is good for blood sugar control, which is total baloney. That is a biggest lie from the pit of hell, because it doesn't. It actually can cause blood sugar spikes. And they say, oh, but it is also very nutrient dense because it contains magnesium, zinc, iron, and B vitamins. But what they don't tell you is that it also contains phytic acid that prevents you from absorbing those nutrients. All that good iron food to make new blood cells, you're not going to absorb any because there's enough phytic acid to prevent you from doing that. Think about zinc and magnesium. Why is it even in there? Because you're not going to get any benefit out of it. To go further, you talked about the protein. It's called, I want to get the name right, avenin. Avenin is an oat protein. Now, just to backtrack a little, one of the benefits of oatmeal is also it reduces inflammation. But because of the avenin in there, also causes inflammation, which is related to joint problems, fatigue, and skin rashes.
It sounds like it's all one-sided.
Yeah,
All the benefits, but not showing us what it actually does.
correct. And there is a way to make oatmeal probably, let's say, less dangerous. I don't think it's going to be good for you, but I'll say it's less dangerous. And they say that in order to prevent the phytic acid and the avenin and all those things, is you have to soak it overnight and have it fermented. So you have to let it rot overnight so that it's nice and gooey and disgusting, and then eat it. Then it'll be okay. Then it won't cause that much harm.
But you and I both know most people buy the 1-minute oats.
Yeah, and those are
Because
probably the worst.
who's going to put it overnight and then it doesn't happen? No, please.
Correct. And those little square packets that you just put boiled water over, those are so laden with other chemicals, and they put added sugar in there. Otherwise, you won't eat it.
You know, it's also funny for me because I've often asked patients, so how do you start your meal of the day? Well, I have a cup of oats. And one thing I do know is the human mind for capturing a cup. Have you seen what a cup of oats looks like? Nobody has a cup. Most people have a cup or 2 cups. Because when you put it in that cereal, when you've dished it up and you've seen it, and you measure it, it's technically 2 cups. Now, the standard oatmeal usually has about 45 grams of carbs per cup. Now, you're going to start your day, you're going to break your fast, and let's say we're generous, you only have a cup. You're starting it with about 45 to, depending on if it's in the packets, it could be 48, 54 grams of carbs. That's how you're starting your day. And then what you've just said, the nutrients are very low. So is that fueling your body, or are you actually feeding disease?
And if you think about it, 54 grams of carbohydrate, which is essentially turning into sugar as soon as it goes through your small intestine. That is a lot of sugar. That is enough. If you do that on a daily basis and you don't get, at a minimum, insulin resistance or prediabetes, I'd be surprised.
And then the part that is also where you and I are very much, it took us years to wake up on that one, but we're on par with that, is with regards to the fiber. Because a couple of the researchers that I watched and listened and said was the fiber that was causing these people for bloatedness and gassiness and discomfort. Why do you want to do that? If your body is bloated and gassy, it means it doesn't like it, people.
Correct. And the fiber in there is sold to you as a health benefit. But the fiber, especially in oat, will ferment in your colon and cause gassiness and bloatedness and discomfort. So I don't know if a health benefit is really going to make you feel worse. If something has a health benefit, my mind tells me it's going to make me feel great. But now I eat this health benefit, and moments later, I feel like death warmed up. No, thank you.
Yeah, feel like crap.
Yep.
And the thing is, this is what we've been taught, it's verbiage people use without thinking. They spew it out. Well, start every morning with a cup of oats or a cup of cereal, And what you mentioned earlier was the funny part to me is, and I know I've seen people do this. You have a bowl of cereal and you add sugar and milk. And few people know that in America, the standard milk sugar is added to it. They don't have to tell you that. That was incorporated in 1986. So now you're having cereal, which is sugar, because look at the molecules. Then you add milk, which has more sugar. And then you just, for the fun, you put a teaspoon of sugar on there. And now this is how you broke your fast, and you are ready to be a winner that day. You're ready to function, be on high performance. You are absolutely setting yourself up for disaster.
And if you think about all that sugar added with the sugar and the milk to the cereal, where, oats have what? Almost 50 grams of carbs in it. Now you're probably up to 100 grams.
Yes.
That is shocking. You can just as well have bought yourself a soda and drank the soda.
That's probably safer. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And if you look at anything like the American Diabetes Association or any of those websites, you will see that being promoted as one of, because it's healthy fiber, brings the sugar down, but none of the other things we've spoken about is being told to you, plus the fact that it is absolutely empty in nutrition.
True. And coming back to fuel, now you get this fuel that is actually harmful to your body, but it is so promoted and advertised, and wherever you go, it's on almost every commercial, especially in the morning hours. So what fuel would be superior? If you see your body as a brand new Ferrari, are you going to put E85 in? Or are you going to get the highest quality fuel that your money can buy to make that engine last? Because besides the point, you don't want to take it even for a oil service, because that's going to cost you about $15,000. So you'd want that engine to last as long as you can. And the same thing with your body. Why do you want to degrade your body? Rather give it a superior fuel. And I think, Yvette, it's probably a good time to get into what superior fuels would be for breaking your fast. I personally love eggs.
When you said now with the eggs, I want to ask people to think about this. For any oatmeal, for any cereal, for anything that you get in a box, why do you have to add things to that to make it edible? Because it's disgusting if you don't. Now, with you saying eggs, you literally do not have to add anything. Yes, if you like some salt on there, it's great. But you do not have to add anything to the eggs to be able to eat it, Johann.
True.
Isn't that a bit of a no-brainer?
Absolutely. You'll still get it in. Even if you add the salt, think about it. That salt, if you have the right salt, not that white powdery stuff that they have in the restaurant tables. But if you add some salt to it, you're adding nutrient to it. Because if you add like Redmond's real salt or Celtic salt, you don't only get sodium chloride, you get magnesium and a whole range of other minerals in with it. And every single thing in that meal, egg with salt, is to your benefit. It's going to do something. It is biologically active to bring a benefit to you.
And the reason we always talk about the essential nutrients, the essential macronutrients that you need is protein and fat. And there is no more perfect example than an egg.
Very true. Because it's so well balanced between protein and fat too. And I know some people are sensitive to eggs. I've got a few kids in my house who trying the carnivore diet again, and the one is sensitive to eggs. So I said, okay, well, scramble it. You still get the whole egg, but now you don't get a high concentration of just the yolk or just the white. And if you scramble it, it's easy. So they scramble their eggs and they have no problem with it. So, and eggs is really the most, if all food disappears and only eggs remain, you'll survive.
And there is, again, another ad campaign that was very successful to demonize eggs. Now, when people ask you, how many eggs can I eat? As much as you want. And we were taught, and I do know about that because I was around, it was in the 80s when we were in high school. That whole marketing, oh, the news says you shouldn't eat more than 2 eggs a day. And then it was like you shouldn't eat more than like 3 times a week. So again, we're going back to marketing and advertising, and do not fall for that. So if you want to eat 16 eggs a day and you're happy with that, do it. You are going
Yes,
to see quite a few serious results there. One of
for
the
sure.
results will be you're not going to get as hungry as the person that had their bowl of cereal or their oatmeal. That brings us into the part where if you are breaking your fast with a carbohydrate, highly processed, sugar added food, you're going to be hungry. You're going to get these lows and highs. You're going to feel awful. It's going to go up and down. Versus a person who breaks their fast whenever they are want to eat, ready to eat, and they decide, I'm going to have some scrambled eggs.
Yes. And if you
And that,
do a high protein, high fat breakfast, breaking fast, I guarantee you it's going to last you a lot longer. That thing about snacking, you don't have to pack a snack when you go out.
and this is the part where there are so many researchers, really very well-known researchers, that have found that when you compress your eating window and you have certain periods to eat, just like the ancestors did, because believe me, 200 years ago on the farm, they didn't walk around with a little Ziploc with some peanut butter and carrots in there. The longer you make that fasting window, the more you are able to put the healing mechanisms of your body to work.
Yes.
So that is what we are talking about when you break your fast. And now you have actually seen, I went without food for 10 hours, 12 hours. I'm eating a highly nutritious meal, which contains proteins and fats. And I am able, and what you and I always tell people, eat until you are full. Don't have 2 eggs when you know that's not going to be enough. If you're a growing young lad or you're very busy in your life, make sure you eat enough. Because now this time restricted way of eating is going to be the most important thing that you can do with viewing your food. And you're not eating on a cycle, you're eating where your body is able to take these nutrients, these building blocks, need what they want, and then you give it a period of time where it exercises the way to be able to heal. It's mechanisms that are set into place.
Yes, me and my technician, we talk about how amazing God made our bodies. There are things that is just mind blowing. And one of those things is something that happens during fasting time. And I can't remember, I think it's about when at 18 hours of fasting that the autophagy kicks in. Am I correct?
Yes.
So when you get to an autophagy, okay, now it sounds for some people like this really high new word. But if you break it down, auto is automatic. Phagy is a word for eat. So your body starts eating itself. And it's not a bad thing. It's not that your body is now hungry and you're going to start dissolving from the inside out. I think some people wish that worked that way because they might lose some weight, but that's not the way it works. But what autophagy does, it actually goes around it and cleans up debris from your body, damaged DNA, damaged cell membranes, fragments of organic matter that's floating around in your body. Autophagy goes and it recycles that fragment into energy and new building blocks. Don't you think that's amazing?
And the way God made our bodies, again, we always say this, if you give it the right nutrients, your body will heal itself. It will get rid of areas in the body that needs to be healed. And if you have read the Bible, especially the Old Testament, anywhere, you will know that fasting was one of the things that God incorporated for people. If there was exposure to dead people, exposure to leprosy, exposure to any bacteria or anything that was dirty, He didn't do that to punish people. God knew that the way He made our bodies were, you're going to be able to do what Johann said, that fancy word, autophagy, eating the bad stuff and your body's being able to recover and recuperate. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes, and if you think about it, because if you read the Bible, it talks about the process of sanctification. And what is autophagy other than basically cleaning your body out? And I think everybody has to do it from time to time and skip a meal. And we talked about it earlier, and something that we talked about people who want to restrict their portion sizes.
Portion control.
My goodness, if I hear that word, I just want to throw up.
Why would you want to control your portions if you are nutritiously starving? Your body is calling out for nutrition. Your body needs food and you want to control your portions. But it's probably what you eat that you want to control.
Yes, so don't eat less, but eat less often.
And don't eat less food, but eat more of the correct food.
Yes. Eat the building blocks and the actual fuel, not that stuff that's just going to make your dopamine centers in your brain flicker all over the show. And that is sugar and carbohydrate. I do think it also valid to mention, because when we talk about carbohydrates and sugar, people always say, but I don't eat any sugar and look, I still overweight.
I don't eat any bread and I don't eat any sugar.
Yes. But then you go to a restaurant and they order a stuffed spud, and that potato is as big as a plate. Or the meal come and there's a whole bunch of rice in there and fries. Fries is a vegetable. There's nothing wrong with that. But all of those starches, the process actually starts in your mouth already, where it breaks the starches down into glucose chains. Sorry, I don't have my glass of water like Yvette.
Yeah, it's important to note that when you eat the carbohydrates, immediately it triggers the mouth, sends the signals to the brain and to the body. But the most important thing for people to know is that what is carbohydrates? You're looking at the glucose molecule. And it's very easy for people to say, well, I don't eat sugar. Yeah, that's sucrose. That's table sugar. That's got a combination of glucose and, So we have to be able to educate people in saying the rice, the cookies, the cereal, the pasta, the potatoes, the vegetables, the salads, the basic foundation of that food source is a carbohydrate.
Yeah.
That's where many lose the plot.
For sure. And how many essential carbohydrates is there? Because surely you have to eat some.
I think there's a zero.
Correct.
Again, God created our bodies in such a way that we can make the ones we need, and it's a very small amount.
Yes. And if you think about it, when you basically eat animal products, which they do contain a little bit of carbohydrate, but it is so minute, but it provides all the building blocks for whatever you need, you can get from it. And people will always say, oh, but how are you going to get your vitamin Bs if you don't eat the rainbow?
They're all confused.
They are, because red meat actually contains a lot more vitamin B than any color on that rainbow.
And if a person only eats vegetables, and if you only eat the fruits and the vegetables and you do not eat the animal proteins, you have about I've seen on average 5 to 6 years before you've depleted yourself completely of all the Bs. And the only place you're going to get it is in animal protein. And you can get the injections, you can take the supplements. You will never, ever look and feel the way you're supposed to be. Most people that do that feel better for a while, but then it's crash and burn. Because again, how did God make our bodies? He knew the building blocks we needed. He knew that we needed the proteins. If you eat the stuff that's out there in nature that we're supposed to eat, you will feel and look totally different. And we will not have this chronic epidemic of everybody being sick, everybody has inflammation. And we're all listening to ad campaigns and slogans, but nobody's using this to think and go, but hang on, this doesn't make sense. Why am I doing this?
True.
And the same as what you say with a car. Why would you want a Ferrari and then put cheap oil in there? Why would you do that?
Yeah, doesn't make sense. And how many people in today's age is actually protein deficient?
Very much, and especially the elder people. And for them, it is really important because you see such serious bone decay, losing their teeth, memory. We've spoken about all of that. The only thing we can say is, and again and again and again, protein is a building block. If you don't get enough, you are going to show those signs and symptoms. Now, when you do eat the protein and you break that fast with a breakfast, so that means you have now given your body far more food. You've given your body nutrients. Your body is able to perform. So now you move into a grouping of where we call time-restricted eating. So all of a sudden, your hunger goes away. You don't have these perpetual up and down swings of, oh, my sugar is low, I feel horrible, oh, my sugar is low, because you're now giving your body the nutrients to function at full performance. And what a lot of people don't realize is your brain functions the best on ketones. So in that time frame when you're not eating, the body's going to be burning that stored fat. That stored fat then is going to have ketones as energy. First of all, your hunger is going to go away. And secondly, your brain is going to clear up and you think, my goodness, I haven't thought this clearly. And this is the part that I wish more people could understand. In that period when you're going to be burning that fat, and the body's going to be releasing those ketones and your brain's going to be working more, you might even lose weight.
Yes, 100%. So true. Initially, if you only eat fat and protein, you have to also remember you will build or retain a little more muscle than what you do. And one of the biggest things with the elderly right now is what they call sarcopenia, where they actually lose muscle mass. And it is proven, and I think I want to say there's a rebuttal, because they do say that people start losing 1% per year of muscle mass after the age of 40. But I want to say that is probably people on a standard American diet. Because if you keep your protein up and you stay active, it is not just eating the protein. I think eating the protein has a lot to do with it, probably at least 80%. But there is a 20% where exercise do come in.
I can see where those statistics, I agree with you, probably are very skewed because the whole way of eating has been affected by the food pyramid and telling people, eat this junk and eat that junk. So yes, I think that could be skewed. And if you are a person that falls out of the norm and you've maintained higher protein and you've eaten the proper human diet, I do believe you there, Johann. I think there would be a sustaining of muscle for a much longer period of time.
Yes, and what do you think about the new food pyramid?
Well,
I
finally
absolutely
somebody
love
turned
it.
it. Finally, they turned it upside down because the way we had it was
Was not
ridiculous.
working. Definitely not.
Well, it was working for certain industries because we created a huge problem.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And to add on with eating the protein, I want to give a testimony about myself. Eating the higher protein, eating protein appropriate for my height and my exercise and all of that. When I did my labs, we were absolutely shocked that my bone density went up. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm a woman. And at 57, my bone density went up with something like 1.3%, which is
That's
unheard of.
amazing. That's
So,
totally unheard of, especially for a woman, because
exactly.
females usually tend to lose more bone mass than men.
And that is when you revert and you go back to eating the nutrients that your body needs, the building blocks it needs, and to be able to sustain it. It's the same as there's a couple of doctors, I don't know, there's big news about the medicine that they've just developed in Germany where it can replace the synovial fluid in the knees and build up the knees. But there are a couple of doctors that we've watched some of the scans that they've done with patients when they've enhanced their protein, and their bone on bone situation has gone away.
Wow,
How incredible is that?
that is incredible.
Again, you know, this is something we always say, you are going to die. Yes, I do understand that. But I'd like for you to be as strong and as healthy as possible for as long as possible. Play with your grandkids, be able to walk, climb stairs, and go for a hike.
Absolutely. Be that grandparent who's still able to look after the grandchildren rather than the grandchildren have to, oh, because Grammy can't move around and she's always sick. Don't be that person.
But it's incredible how it starts with breakfast.
Absolutely. It absolutely starts with breakfast.
So I will agree with one thing. Breaking your fast is the most important thing of the day, but it depends on how you're going to break it, when you're going to break it, and what are you going to eat.
Yes. And please don't let people tell you if you eat eggs, eggs are so high in cholesterol. They absolutely are. I love it. My brain loves it even more.
But it's a perfect grouping that the way it is made is exactly how the body knows what to do with it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that fat in there, perfect for your brain. And even studies that were shown, I didn't pull it up here, but there were young children that had signs and symptoms of attention deficit. They took away the Pop Tarts, those things you pop in the toaster. Don't know those well, but they took those away. They took the cereals away, started them on some scrambled eggs, and there was an immediate change in their behavior without any medication. So again, you need to break your fast for your children in a proper way as well, because that will determine their outcome in life.
Yes. And I want to add, as brand new parents, we weren't always too clever. So when a child got hurt and they cry, and then you try to make the tears stop and then you give them a treat. That is probably the wrongest. If there's any new parents listening, you have to break that cycle right away because you're teaching that kid to emotionally eat. And so many people are now adults and they still emotionally eat. They go through a hard time at work, bring the ice cream and the next Netflix. They go through a breakup, take the girlfriend or the boyfriend out and they're going to eat something. Don't get any of your children, grandchildren, whoever it is that is a young person in that cycle of emotionally eating. Rather train them to deal with that emotion, because if they emotionally eat, you also teach them that the emotions is their boss. And it should be the other way around. You are the boss of your emotions.
But even in schools, Johann, when the children when they do well, you can come and pick a little candy.
Yeah.
So we totally teach everybody that food is going to be your emotional crutch. So if you do good, you get a treat. If you do bad, let's go overeat. Either way, it comes back to again, what is food? What does food mean to you?
Mm,
How important
sure.
is it to you? And it's true, if you ask yourself, if you, after a bad day and not feeling well, and stop and pick up that family sized tub ice cream with one spoon, then you definitely are looking at food as an emotional crutch. But this is where the part that really opened my eyes were the more we feed children the wrong food, the more we're changing their biology. So when you initially thought that, you know what, I'm going to deal with my emotions in another way, I won't eat the ice cream, but now you've actually damaged your physiology. because you've been eating so wrong. Your insulin is way out of whack. Your sugar cannot be controlled. You have all these up and down fluctuations. So when you are emotionally becoming in control, but you don't understand the nutrients base of the food, if you are stuck in that situation, you need to listen to us. Because I've
Yes.
seen tons of people who have been set free, they've been delivered, but yet they cannot break the food cycle, and it's because they're eating the wrong food. And it's not your fault. It's because you have fallen for a whole marketing slogan. You've done everything the marketing world has told you, but you need to revert back to eating the food that God made.
Yes. And what is human appropriate? Don't eat my cow's food. I like my cow to eat their own food.
That's why the cow's got 4 stomachs to process my food
Exactly.
in a
Be-
healthy way.
Because I remember that from first year pharmacy school, that the plants have a type of cellulose that we humans and carnivorous animals like lions, we don't have the enzyme to break it down. And then you think, but how are we getting to the nutrients that's inside that plant cell? Very easy. You give it to the cow. The cow has the enzyme. It's got 4 stomachs to filter out all the poisonous stuff that might have been on there. And you eat the cow. So yes, now you eat processed plants, but the amount of nutrition that you get would be human appropriate because your body will adapt to it. It will absorb it almost 100% versus when you actually eat the plant.
Now, unfortunately, when you do a Google search on what is high in nutrient A, B, C, or D, we have to realize that you need to know which audience you're speaking to. So you are definitely going to get a search that is skewed. But if you're clever and you put a search in for one food item, let's say green beans, and you put a food search for another item and you put piece of steak, you can actually compare the nutrient values yourself. Because we are in a day and age where be careful of things like AI, be careful of things like Google. They will think for you. So the first response is not necessarily the correct one. It's the same as what you and I, when we're looking at the oatmeal, you'll see all the benefits of the oatmeal. But when you go down and you read, how does it work? How does the body, then you start seeing, okay, hang on. There's some of it that's left out. So if you truly want to know the nutrient value of something, go put in an egg, go see what's the nutrients in there. And then you put it versus breakfast cereal and you look at the nutrient value. Don't ask Google or Dr. Google, which one is the best? Because I bet you're going to get the wrong answer. But you need to learn for yourself.
Yeah,
And then
for
the other
sure.
thing too is when you eat it, Johann, you just feel it. It's
For sure.
no rocket science.
Yes. There's a little thing about the Google search that you mentioned. I went to ChatGPT and I said, what is the health benefits of oatmeal? And it spits out every single health benefit. Directly after I said, why is oatmeal not a good food for humans? And it tells you all about all the negative stuff, all the phytic acid and all these proteins that causes problems in the human gut and the inflammation.
But it's also how you ask the question.
Yes, it definitely is how you ask the question.
And it's the same as when you ask your doctor questions, because you and I have both encouraged people to ask them the right questions. And if they don't answer the question, then go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I want to say all these search engines, they're almost as if they're designed to give you the answer you want. So if you ask what is the health benefit, it's going to give you health benefits of even the foods that are currently in the big media demonized. It will give you the health benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask for it, why is it bad for you? It'll give you everything that's bad for you because it'll give you the answer you want. And it's
So
not
if you go search is breakfast the most important meal of the day, it's quite interesting what you get because it was the same outcome.
yeah,
And then when I changed it to why is breakfast not the most important meal of the day? Everything else came up. So again, it was how I put that question in, and you're saying it's like they're speaking to the audience. Maybe they want to keep you happy with your answers, but it's not always the truth.
that is when you have to get somebody like me and Yvette who's done the study and know the academics behind it and know the physiology and know the biochemistry to see which answer is actually the truth, where breakfast at 7 a.m. doesn't make sense. So
But if you do want to eat breakfast at 7 o'clock, you're fine. We're not saying you
yes,
shouldn't. There shouldn't be this, like we said, clock eating. But you would probably more than likely find if somebody has breakfast at 7, they don't have dinner at 5 or 6 o'clock like you and I would do later in the day. Because I
true.
know of a couple of people that said if they have breakfast at 7, they get up very early and they have a meal at 2 or 3 o'clock, they don't eat again. So all of a sudden you look at that fasting window. Say you finished eating at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So 2 to 2 o'clock, that's 12 hours. Then you go to 7, so it's another 5 hours. So all of a sudden you've increased that eating window quite dramatically.
Yes. Yvette, we're getting close to the end here, but I do want to mention, because all that we've talked about today, if people listen to us and they think, okay, maybe there's something to what we were saying and they need to change the breaking their fast and how and when. We never said that anything that we recommend is easy. But if you want to work with someone, you get in contact with us. You can either comment on this podcast, and we always post our calendar links. Get on a call with one of us. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can help you.
Because sometimes a change seems impossible. And if you have to do it alone, you feel overwhelmed. And especially in the day and age where we are in an information age, but we can also call it a disinformation age. Johann and I would like to help you. We'd like to point you in the right direction because believe it or not, it's not easy, but it is actually easy to do when you understand what you're doing.
Absolutely, for sure. And I also feel, Yvette, there's something there to say about accountability. If you have somebody like one of us to kind of hold your hand throughout the process, and in a few days you're going to have to check in, it's easier, even though you don't necessarily do it because you're going to be in trouble. It's just easier to know, Johann or Yvette is going to ask me what I ate. Then you want to give the right answer. It's just human nature to have that somebody to hold your hand throughout the process. And in our company slogan, we say we believe in transformations that last.
And both of us have had experience with certain situations and struggling with certain things in our health that might correlate to you. We've both had weight loss or weight problems when we moved to America because of the food system. So there's many things that we can speak to personally out of our own experience, because the worst to me is do not take advice from a massive obese doctor judging that person, but obviously they haven't figured out the lies and the deceptions that they've been told. So we can literally speak to those because we've been through them.
Yes, that is true. Well, Yvette, I think we're going to have to sign off now.
Well,
But
the
this
next
was
time you wake
great.
up in the morning and you think you have to have breakfast immediately, think of Johann and I. Don't.
Yes,
Go eat when you are hungry, but don't eat a minute before then.
yes, 100%.
I hope this means something to people because we've been lied for so many years, and you and I are here to, again, set the people free.
Debunk the lies and start living healthy. And I really like RFK Jr.'s slogan of make America healthy again. It's not, I don't say prescription drugs have no place. We will never say that. But that's not the only way.
So that's why we say, what is our slogan? From medicated to motivated.
So I hope this motivated you to not be medicated and move from pills to purpose. Thank you,
This was
everyone.
awesome. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye. Views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and are intended for educational and informational purpose only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The information shared should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice from your personal health care provider. Always consult your physician, pharmacist, or qualified health professional before making any changes to medications, supplements, or health regimens. We are also promoters of Neolife Nutritionals, beauty, and household products, and this stems from our knowledge of their purity and the company's reputation to provide products of outstanding quality. While we may discuss our experiences in the retail pharmacy setting and share insights into functional medicine, our conversations reflect our professional perspectives and personal opinions, and not those of our employers, affiliated organizations, or licensing boards. By listening to From Pills to Purpose podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and agree that the host and guests are not liable for any outcomes resulting from the use of the information discussed in this podcast.